We'll get rolling here. All right. Coach Neighbors, you want to make an opening statement? You want to go straight to questions?
Yeah, I'll make a little opening statement.
Ready?
Does that mean go?
Yes, sir.
I'd just like to thank whoever's idea was to make this a phone call instead of a Zoom, so I don't have to look at these guys in their stated of hair, whatever, because I shaved mine. I can only imagine what some of these guys are looking like. So thank you for making this a phone call only, Kyle. I appreciate that. And with that, we can take questions.
All right, let's see here. Dudley, you want to lead us off? Dudley, you hear me?
Oh, no, I did not. See, I thought you said Tom. So, well, Coach, obviously, how have you been staying busy during this? I know you've probably stayed in contact with your players and stuff, but what have you done during our little idle time here?
Well, we've tried to keep it as normal as if they were here. And if they were on campus at this point in time, this would be a time when we probably have the least contact that we do in a year anyway. We give them weeks off after we get finished with our season, and then we slowly but surely have individual meetings. So it's not been that different as far as communication with our kids. It's just been a different, form of technology. It's not been a face-to-face meeting. So as far as amount of things, it's really not been that different from any other year. Tactics obviously different, but for me, it does produce extra time because those meetings seem to take less time when you're doing them this way, or you can do them at all hours of the day. You're not doing them around the normal schedule. So there's been hours to fill, but really lucky that this fell at a time in my personal life that there's plenty of stuff to turn the focus to. My daughter's wedding is still on for June the 6th. My son is graduating high school whenever that happens. We had a flood in our house that happened back during the season that has required a complete renovation of the downstairs. So we've started that. And I got a baby on the way doing about a week. So you can only fill in the blanks with however you want. But needless to say, been staying plenty busy.
Appreciate it.
You got it.
How about Paul? Any questions, Paul?
Absolutely. Hey, Coach, can you kind of give us? You kind of alluded that you guys obviously had some previous contact with Destiny, and can you kind of take us through that little winding road of how she ends up here in Fayetteville?
The Big Trail version. All right. She committed to us on September 30th, 2014. Before she goes into her junior year. She had come to our elite camp at the University of Washington. She had absolutely wowed us. She held her own against our current team, which would ultimately end up to be a Final Four team. But she held her own in the player versus camper game. So we knew we had something special. She was in Boise, Idaho. We were in Seattle, Washington, not very far apart. And, Idaho is not your traditional hotbed of basketball talent, but this was somebody who was special. So as a result of having seen her play, during the summer following her freshman year, she was getting ready to be a sophomore. That coming up school year, I used my maximum allowance number of days. At that point in time, it was 5. So I made the direct flight from Seattle to Boise, which is like going in a time machine because it's a time zone change, but the flight is less than an hour. So you take off at 9 and you land at, 8:56 or something. So you can go over and back. I did that 5 times her sophomore year, watched them play all the way through. Then that summer, made the decision as a staff that I, as the head coach, was going to watch every single game that she played that summer. So if there was ever a question on which game I was going to go see the Idaho Hoop Dreams play. And I did. I saw every single game they played the summer entering her junior year. As a result, when the school year started, we were able at that point in time to do home visits. So the entire month of September, everybody did their home visits, and we did ours. Went over there. I want to say it was the 26th or 27th. I'm trying to find the exact date because y'all know how I am about that. But it's toward the end of the period. She finished her home visits on the 30th. She called me. Was in San Antonio, Texas, ironically doing Amber Ramirez's campus visit, and she called to commit. Said she had finished her visits. She was done. Her family had decided she was committing to the University of Washington. At this point in time, she was one of the top 5 players in the country. Huge news. Great sign, great commit. We go all the way through that season with her committed, her junior season. I go and watch again, maximum allowed, NCAA tournament. NCAA allows us 5 opportunities. I went to 5 games. Saw them win a state championship. We go to the NCAA tournament that year. It was our first year making the NCAA tournament. We lost in a game in Iowa. The year finished up. We went to the national convention, went to the Final Four as coaches do all our convention stuff. I land back in Seattle from getting back to the Final Four. I've got a phone message from her that said she needed to talk to me, and my stomach sunk. And I immediately knew she was getting ready to tell me bad news, which was she decided she was going to decommit after being committed for a full year, and she did. She decommitted, and I was okay with it. I understood she was a 16-year-old kid. She needed to take more, visits and go all the way through the process. So again, I follow her that entire summer, including a trip to Russia to watch her play in the FIBA National Championships. Follow her. I watch every single game. We go back through the visits. She visits officially and commits to the University of Maryland. So missed my opportunity to coach her. Devastated, hated every step of it. I really wanted to coach her. We go through that year. Her senior year, she has a great year. I don't go to one single game. I honor the fact that she is committed to Maryland. I don't watch her. I don't write her. I don't try to recruit her. I'm just happy for her. And she goes on. They win another state championship. And we, lo and behold, go to the NCAA tournament and go to the Final Four that year with a trip, beating Maryland, by the way, which we can talk about that when the time comes. There's going to be lots of times for us to talk about this. So we end up beating the team to go to the Elite Eight that she had committed to. So we go all the way through that year. She goes to Maryland. She plays there as a freshman. Has a great year. We finish things up at Washington. We get knocked out. We go to the Sweet 16, get knocked out. Well, we wind up in Dallas, Texas that year. And this is also right about the time I'm getting ready to take this job, okay, the Arkansas job. In fact, I'd already taken it in principle, but we hadn't announced it. So we go to Dallas. We're at the National WBCA Awards, and Kelsey Plum is being named the National Player of the Year. And right sitting next to us is Destiny Slocum and her family because she's just won the National Freshman of the Year award. So here we cross paths again. A week later, I'm announced to get the job here. A week after that, she announces she's leaving Maryland after her National Freshman of the Year season at Maryland. Immediately make a phone call. She visits Arkansas. She came on an official visit to Arkansas as we were first getting here. If y'all will go back and look the dates, it was the weekend that we had 12 inches of rain on a Friday and Saturday afternoon, and Fayetteville flooded. So she chose to go to Oregon State, which kind of hard to blame her with where we were at and what she saw on her 48-hour visit. So she goes to University of Oregon. She goes to Oregon State. Obviously has 2 tremendous seasons. We kind of get things turned around here. She decides to grad transfer, and there you have it. Now she's a Razorback, and there's some more turns we can talk about, but hopefully our description of the pig trail is accurate, and hopefully I didn't go on too long trying to answer your question, Paul.
No, that's where does she also, where does she fit on this roster? Obviously, you and I talked a little bit about a very talented and crowded roster, I might add.
She allows us to absorb the loss of graduation of Kiera and Alexis, And then the kind of, unexpected departure, expected in some shape, form, or fashion, but kind of untimely departure of our two first players off the bench in Rokia and IT. So she slides right into that and takes a chunk of those minutes for sure. As far as position goes, I mean, we get her, we like to play as many guards as we can. So she fits in. She can handle the ball. She can run to those spots where Alexis has been seeing running. But if she gets the rebound or the outlet pass, then she's just as capable of bringing the ball up the floor as anybody. You just tell by looking at her numbers. I mean, this is a kid who has been the leading scorer and leading assist person for her teams that all three have played in the Sweet 16. So she can score, but she's also a passing point guard, passing racker for us that can score and can shoot. So she fits with us perfectly because we don't really have labeled positions.
Talking about those departures and the newcomers coming in, your expectations for some of these newcomers, you feel like some of those guys can, fit in immediately?
Wouldn't have brought them if we didn't. They all have, they are coming in with a set of skills that we needed. That's why we recruited them. And Destiny changes nothing. Everybody comes in with the same role that we had expected. Because again, nobody would have thought we were going to be losing Rokia and IT, but that doesn't affect Alana. It doesn't affect Jalen Mason coming back. It doesn't affect Riley. It doesn't affect Destiny. We had spots on our board, and we needed some experience for us to do what we hoped to do. Because we lost, like I said, a senior and a fixing to be junior. So we needed somebody that's been through the battles, and we obviously couldn't have found anybody better than that. Somebody that's been to into the Power 5 conferences already and has helped her team advance deep into the tournament.
As far as Mason goes, obviously you'd said, she scored 40 in one of your last inter squads. So obviously you're expecting her to do big things. Does her role change at all with the addition?
Nope. Not at all. Does it make practice more competitive? Sure. Yeah, sure it will. But it doesn't change anybody's expectations or anybody's roles.
Okay. Thanks.
You got it.
Tara.
Hey, Coach Dave. Just how excited are you to get Jalen Mason back?
I'm so excited to get her off the bench during a game. I mean, that is a kid who was like another coach over there. I'm ready for her to go to be a player again. She is she sees the game like a coach. I think the year will help her, and I say that kind of halfway kiddingly, halfway serious. She did so many things for us that we missed. She is our best transition talker in defense. So somebody else had to take that over all year last year. So we get that back. She was our best, what we call fixer on defense. She understood at a deep, deep grasp and understanding of what the opponents were trying to do and an uncanny ability to fix mistakes that we were making or about to make. So we get that back. And then what Paul alluded to a little bit a minute ago, what I think y'all are going to see in this kid that we never really had a chance to in the past, as a result of this year being in the red shirt, she was consistently our opponent's best player. So she got a chance to be Kennedy Carter. She got a chance to be Ryan Howard. Other team's best guard. She got to be Zaya Cook. She got to be Ty Harris. So she got to stretch her game. And as a result, again, like Paul said, she became the kid that got 41 on the day that y'all were going to come up here, Terry. Y'all were going to come up here and officiate. You could have seen it, but that was the day they shut the men's NCAA tournament down, and y'all had more important things to deal with. But I think you're going to see a confident offensive attacker, and then bring back to us what we already knew we had in her, and a tremendous teammate, great leader, and somebody that helps us so much defensively. We improved last year defensively considerable amount after Coach Todd took over kind of as a defensive coordinator. and Jalen's going to continue to give us another shot in the arm when it comes to that. I think our defensive numbers will improve drastically. She's a good rebounder, and like I said, she's a great fixer for us defensively.
Hey, Mike, it's Drew here. How you doing, man?
Good, brother. You?
Hey, man. Hanging in. Hey, just a quick question about Michaela Daniels. How you think she'll be able to facilitate the basketball in this offense, and just kind of with all the great pieces you have in the mix, how Michaela fits into that mix?
Well, I've said to people kiddingly all summer, I think most of the people in our league forgot she was a freshman, including the coaches, because she didn't get named to the all-freshman team. But you look at what she did last year for us as a freshman, and, I have the utmost confidence that on the floor she does exactly what she did last year and more. But she takes a step up leadership-wise in now having a voice. It's hard to do as a freshman, and we don't very rarely ask a freshman to try to do all that. But now as a sophomore, she will like I say, I think most people forgot she was a freshman last year. I think people will look at her as an upperclassman this year, although she's a sophomore. She's one of our most attentive to detail people during this separation. She's always one of the first to reply to anything that we put out. She's watching the films that, on her own, since we can't mandate them. She's asking questions on her own. So I just anticipate a normal step in her progression from freshman to sophomore, but that's a pretty big step. It's a bigger step than you expect. A freshman like Marquisha, who didn't get a chance to experience all those things in a game because of the people that were ahead of her. The question always comes, do we find out about Michaela Daniels if IT doesn't have the injury that she has in the preseason? And I don't have an answer to that. Nobody knows that. Everybody would be guessing, but Michaela was ready when that opportunity came and made the absolute most of it. And I think as a result, she earned the respect of her teammates. I think you'll see her take a big jump. Marquisha likewise will take a jump. It'll just be more game minutes probably than what she saw last year as a freshman.
All right. One final one, Mike. Best movie that you've watched in quarantine and why?
I didn't get a chance to see Ford versus Ferrari, and I'd put that one up there. I would also tell you, I had never seen Greater. I had never seen the Brandon Burlsworth story. And I started getting inundated with people saying, hey, I watched this movie about, the Arkansas walk-on, and I knew they had made it. I knew they shot it over at Farmington and had used Gravitt's gym, and I'd seen McPhee, that the characters, some of those characters around when they were in town shooting, but I'd never seen it. So I sat down and watched it, and it was tremendous. And yes, I did watch Tiger King, and yes, I do think Carol Baskin fed her husband to a tiger.
Thanks, Coach.
You got it.
Nate.
Yeah, Mike, first, Ilana Eaton, just kind of what do you foresee for her next year?
Well, if you were to draw up a prototypical lock player for us, it's Ilana. Can score, can drive, can pass, can defend. You look at the senior year, she had what she did rebounding. So we really, and we've implored her to not come in here expecting a freshman transition period. She needs to come in ready to play. She is, like I said, prototypical for what we look for on our perimeter players. She's got a fast learning curve. She's been very inquisitive. She's the one that's probably the most devastated by this not being able to be here already. She would already have been here. She'd already been working out. So trying to keep her patient and help her understand it. But we've got great expectations for her where she won't get a normal freshman adjustment period. Nobody will, because of none of us know what that's going to look like, and none of us have been through that. So we'll take it slow at the beginning, but I anticipate that kid to have a really fast learning curve. What she does and what she did this year, for Nettleton and Coach Smith and getting their team to the state co-championship, it translates. I think anybody that watched her play can see why she is a really, really good fit at a good time. Coming in here as a freshman when we're going to have a bunch of seniors, an opportunity to really be counted on, but not have to carry the weight of a team. And then know that, next year we're going to be graduating a lot of those kids, and a lot of that is going to fall on her shoulders. So we are preparing her from day already. We're starting, even though we can't have her and can't mandatorily be doing anything, preparing her to make an impact from the second that we do open this thing back up.
And with Kiera graduated, what are you looking for out of Destiny Oakberg and Aaron Barnum as far as helping out Taylor Thomas up front?
We need one of them to come back in the best shape of their life. We need one of them to come back. We need them both to come back doing that, as well as Destiny McGee coming in. Taylor proved that she can play beyond 20, 22 minutes if she has to, but we're a better team when she can play like she did last year. So incredibly hard for 20 to 22 minutes a night, and she's as efficient in 22 minutes as she might be in 30 minutes because she's not pacing herself. So Aaron and Destiny, the two Destinies, we're going to have a team of Destinies, that's for sure. Somebody said that on Twitter, I saw, but with three of them. But the two that play in that position in Oberg and McGee, along with Aaron Barnum, need to come back in great shape, ready to be competitive with each other without being, overly competitive. Y'all all know the battle for playing time is hard. We need those kids to understand that there's a role to be filled. Taylor has earned hers. And I can tell you all this, I've talked to that kid as much as I have anybody. I think we're going to see the same jump that we saw last year with Taylor when she came back. She's been more committed even this summer than she was last summer. She's a kid that as a senior, I feel 100% confident in telling you, unless something happens, that's our kid at that spot from the time we get back. She's earned that. She's been a tremendous role player for us, and I think a superstar in her role, and a huge reason that I think we made some jumps last year. So, but we do, Nate, we need one of those three kids to come back, great shape, healthy and sane and ready to go, ready to be adaptable, ready to be adjustable. Whatever happens when we do come back, we need all three of them to be ready, but one of them for sure's got an opportunity to play, 15 to 18 minutes a night.
As far as just, I guess, with already the U of A is going to be online this summer, are you looking, presumably you won't have those kids up there this summer. Are you worried about how the conditioning, if they have to be on their own all summer?
Nah, not really. I mean, Coach Richardson, Dave, and Emily down in the weight room, they've conditioned these kids to be self-inspired. They don't have to be motivated. They all know that if they don't come back in shape, somebody else is, and you can't start our practices out of shape. If you start out of shape, you're behind, you're bringing in the risk of injury. That is set. They know that. That was the last thing they've all said to each other when we were together. Y'all do what you've got to do to come back in the best shape you can be in, because y'all know that we're going to play faster than we've ever played. So it is, it's out there, but I'm not concerned about it. I know there will be enough of them that are inspired by it. And also just that sheer of, if you're not, you're going to get left behind. So I've seen the plan that they have together when we can open it back up, but in just talking to them, that they've all stayed in shape to some degree. But this is the time of the year we really wouldn't be doing a lot anyway. So they're going to have time to come back. I'm glad we're not an August 1st start team. We've never done that when they come back anyway. We've always played into shape to some degree, to game shape. So I'm more worried about them coming back, not so socially distanced that they liked it. I want them to come back and be ready to see each other and not say, oh, I kind of like this, being able to go to my room and watch 22 hours of Netflix a day and do my classwork, when I wanted to at all hours of the night. That's the thing that concerns me the most about this, is that we've developed some new routines and some new habits that aren't going to be conducive to what we were doing. and we may have to make some modifications to help them in that transition. But, I think we've all developed some new things that we've had to do because of the circumstances we're under. But I worry more about their mental state and how they're doing with having been away from each other, how long it's going to take us to get that back. Because we had a really cool vibe going when we left.
And finally, just with Tolfrey, do you know if she's hooked on any free agent deal with the WNBA team or looking at Europe or what she's doing?
Yeah, I think it's a day-to-day thing. There's still, a lot of questions about what leagues are going to be available. She has not, to my knowledge, heard from anybody. She does have an agent that she works. I know she's in town and staying ready. That's one thing we always talk about. You don't have to get ready if you stay ready. So I know she's working out. I know she's got some opportunities. I just don't know. I don't know what they are.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
You got it.
Otis. He asked my question earlier, somebody didn't, about the comparison with Destiny and Toll-Free.
Yeah.
Can she, Mike, do you feel like she can do a lot of the things that Toll-Free did? And maybe what does Destiny do the best thing she does different than what Toll-Free did, something like that?
Yeah, they are very similar. They're different body types. Destiny's a powerful, built like a little fire plug bulldog, but equally as quick, equally as deadly from range. Elusive with step backs, can play the point, can play off, can make plays, can catch and shoot. She's just a little bigger. She's a little taller. She rebounds it. Although Lex, was our second leading rebounder, it's hard to say that Destiny does anything necessarily better than Lex does. The thing I can say about Destiny is that she's been doing it at the highest level ever since she was a freshman in high school. She was the guard on our 19 and under world championship team for USA basketball, been in 3 Sweet 16s, played the McDonald's All-American game. She's done it against the absolute best competition in the world consistently now for, 5 or 6 years. So if anything, if there is any advantage, and I'm not saying necessarily even that there is, it's that she's got some experience on the national scene that, I think Lex missed out on just because people didn't know her and wasn't as exposed. Obviously, Lex proved she belongs with anybody out there, but she didn't have those opportunities at a younger age that Destiny has. So she's got a really it's hard to say that anybody plays with more confidence than Lex did, but Destiny's that way. Destiny's got that, and it's going to be fun to try to find somebody that she did better than Lex, because Lex sure had a hell of a year.
Hey, on that same line, kind of on Toll-Free, have you talked to her about what she may do now that she didn't get drafted the other night?
Yeah, no, I haven't talked. Once those kids hire an agent, I get to become their biggest fan. I get out of it because I don't have any control over any of that. If they ask me my advice, I'll give it to them. But man, I distance myself when money starts getting involved. I try to get out of it. So I haven't talked to her. I haven't reached out. She hasn't reached out to me for questions. So I assume it's going good. It was a long shot that she was going to get drafted. We got hopeful when ESPN put out that she was ranked in the top 22, but with only 36 picks and 3 rounds, it becomes. And I was hopeful. Listen, I'm not going to hold back. I was hopeful that Derek Fisher would use his 3rd round pick to pick an Arkansas kid. I really was. I mean, that pick probably has a very long shot of making a roster anyway. But I was hopeful that Fish would take the Arkansas kid. It didn't work out that way, so. I hate it for Lex because the anticipation built up, but guys, for her to be considered in that, and being one of the top 36 kids that graduated and be eligible for the draft, that was a huge thing. That was huge. And I want to celebrate that as much as her not getting picked, but she'll land. If there's a basketball league overseas, if any of those things pick back up, they'll be looking for players to fill those roster spots, and she'll have to tell some people no if she doesn't want to. She's got a great future ahead of her, playing if she wants to play, coaching, doing whatever, she's going to be successful doing it.
Thanks, Mike.
You bet, Otis.
Hey, Mike, how you doing?
Bob, doing great. How about you?
I'm okay. Hey, Vic Schaefer going to Texas. What's your reaction to that?
I was floored. I was absolutely floored. I mean, like I say, I try to keep up with that, and like everybody was predicting who was going. Man, I had never. You would have seen me bet $1 on Vic, but it makes sense. You know, when you look now at seeing that there's some potential cuts going on at Mississippi State, and you know, Vic's a Texas guy. I don't think there's any sign that Coach Blair's retiring anytime soon. You know, it makes some sense now that you look back at it, but obviously I'm glad he's out of the league. I'm not going to hold back on that. He had built Mississippi State into a monster. I'm not saying that Nicky's not going to keep it going, but I know Vic, what he had done and proven it. Hardest team probably for us to play against, even mentioning South Carolina, but he had built a house there in Mississippi. He had really, you know, that he had convinced me that was the place he was going to be for the rest of his life. So I was shocked, but it makes sense now when you see all the details of the contract and the length and the security and the resources. It's easy to make sense out of it, but I was incredibly shocked, and we'll go on record. I'll say it to his face. I'm glad he's out of the SEC.
Yeah, you're obviously close to Gary and Vic. How tough has it been to have to play both those guys? Sometimes, you know, multiple times. I mean, you're not Gary out of the tournament twice. You probably didn't mind doing that, but just what was it like playing those guys? You know, how glad are you that now you still have to play Gary, but you don't have to play Vic anymore?
Well, I know. I'll tell you this: our friendship was strained playing each other. I mean, it's just hard. We recruit against each other. We had to play each other. You know, everything's. So it's not easy playing against people who are your not only friends, but, you know, somewhat of a mentor. So Coach Blair, you know, I still talk to Coach Blair. We have about a 1 week waiting period, you know, after we play, win or lose. And we're, as much as we hate to lose, we're equally as happy if we're going to have to lose this to each other. But it's hard. It can strain your relationships if you let it. So I'm glad that I don't have to worry about that with Vic anymore. I can just focus on not straining mine with Coach, which it's hard to do with him because he is so gracious, and hopefully I can learn from that and be better at that when we do win.
Have you talked to Vic since he went to Texas, and how do you think he'll do there?
I have not talked to him since he's taken the job. I sent him a text, but I know how many you get when you take a job like that, so I don't really expect a response. I think he'll do great. I think he'll rally the fan base. I think he'll rally the recruiting base. I think he'll use the plethora of resources that he has in the new, I think they put the number at $500 million. I heard $500 million facility they're building. So I have no doubt that, you know, he'll take Texas up a notch. They've been competitive. I mean, it's a standard down there. Karen, you know, an Arkansas girl, they'd been to 3 Sweet 16s and an Elite 8, and it wasn't satisfactory. So I know Vic's expectations will be really high, and I'm sure that they'll live up to them.
Yeah, a social media question for you too. I mean, I know you're good on that, but Eric Musselman seems like, I don't know, he's the Laurence Olivier of Twitter or something. Or Marlon Brando, I'm probably dating myself there, but what do you think about? I mean, do you watch Eric's these videos he puts out, especially now when things are so slow in sports? What do you think about that?
Sure, I watch every one of them. Listen, I'm a Razorback fan first and foremost. I work here 23 hours and 59 minutes a day, but for a minute a day at least, I'm still a Razorback fan. So yeah, I absolutely follow him, and Listen, I just know this. I don't try to keep up with him. I stick in the lane that I know: movies, baseball cards, video games, stuff like that. I think it's phenomenal. I know how much energy it requires, and only somebody like him who operating at level 10 all day long can do it. So I enjoy it. It's obviously brought a lot of attention to the program, to our university. It's tasteful. He never crosses the line into. He's never out there. All he's doing is talking about his program. He's not downplaying other people. He's not bringing other people into it. He is talking about his love and passion for his kids, for this university, for his family. Everything's done at the highest level, and it's done for the right reasons. It's not a marketing ploy. It's not a turn on and turn off. There's no off. It's a turn on, and it's always on. It may be from 9 to 10 on the speedometer, but I love it. I follow everything. I watch everything he puts out. They put out. Kyle and the team put out. And sometimes we try to piggyback off of it. We do our own thing, our own way. But I certainly like doing reading and watching what they do.
That one he did where he pretended to be the fan was yelling basically all the stuff that fans might be critical about with Eric. I don't know too many coaches that would, I guess, be that self-deprecating. What do you think of that one?
I yelled half of them at him anyway. So, I mean, it was me up there. I said, I don't sit right behind him, but I sit higher up. So I told him, I said, man, you must have had me mic because about half of those things. But no, I think he is he's so vulnerable when it comes to that. He wants to win way worse than any fan that's sitting up there in those bleachers. And I sat next to them, and some of them are my friends, my true friends, and I get such a kick out of it. But I thought he nailed a couple of them. A couple of them knew exactly if their ears were red or their neck was red, they knew who he was imitating. And I think the fact that he can turn to that side of it and see it, I think that's what drives him. I think that's part of it. He wants people to understand that he gets it, and he does. He absolutely gets it.
And did you say at the start that you shaved? Did you talk about you shaved your head, or you mean you shaved like a beard?
No, I shaved my hair off. It's starting. I don't have a whole lot of it in spots already, and it was starting to really exaggerate that lack of it in some areas. It was starting to get too much, so it was a matter of. And we got out on the porch, and JC, my girlfriend, got the shears out. Next thing you know, I'm bald. So I got a decently round head. It's not too bad right now, so it's not come back in quite as gray. But as long as it comes back, I may keep it short. We'll see. But yeah, I'm pretty clean shaven.
Is this the first time you shave your head?
No, second time. 1994 Bentonville High School swim team. I missed the meeting, and I had to become their swim team coach. And I said that if our entire boys team would shave their heads, I would shave mine too, and I did, and they won the state championship. So I shaved it bald. Second time.
Okay. Well, swimmers shave. What do you call that when swimmers shave to help their
That's what they call it, shave down. Yeah, they shave their leg hair and everything, and their arm hair. If it could, keeps them from, and they grow it long when they train, and then shave it to feel faster when it comes meet time. So I learned that was part of the reason. But they wear those caps anyway over their heads, so you don't necessarily have to shave your head. But my guys did.
Yeah. Okay.
I hear you. Hey, on a more serious note, we don't know when this virus thing is going to clear up and we're all going to get back to normal. But in the back of your mind, do you keep a second budget plan, like in terms of what you might have to trim if there's trimming that comes up? And has that been broached by Hunter Yurachek yet?
Yeah, we've all got plans. Yeah, absolutely. Thinking, and me personally, this is not Hunter Yurachek. This is me personally. Obviously, I do everything he asks me to do, but I've always been a plan for, hope for the best, but plan for the worst. So yeah, sure. I mean, in the back of my mind, when I'm sitting around watching Tiger King and whatever, yeah, what happens? What does this look like? And it makes you thankful for what we do have. But yeah, there's always, you got to have a plan. And I've just kind of personally taken it week by week, hey, if we're not here by this time next week, then we got to make a new plan. And let's have a plan for this week. Most weeks I haven't even made it all the way through the week without having to change. if you listen or depending on who you follow or listen to as your source, I've just started using Hunter and Greg Sankey. That's who I started out with, and that's who I'm going to finish with. I had said that I wouldn't believe that an SEC tournament or the NCAA tournament would be affected until one of those guys said it, and they both said it, and that's when I started believing it. So I'm using them as my filter and my lens. I trust them. They're the two smartest people that I've ever sat in meetings with. So I'm using them as my guide, and I'm taking it week by week, but the plans are in place for whether this thing is over next week or goes on till the week after that. I'm kind of looking at it that way and not getting too far ahead of myself, but yeah, I'm consistently thinking about plans for the worst.
Okay, and Hunter's also said that you guys have had some preliminary talks about you getting a raise, for performance. And I just wonder, you just have to back shelf that mentally, or how do you approach that?
I don't even think about it because all I want him to know is I want him to know how badly I want to be here. He knows that. He's, everybody always said he's not the person that hired me, but I don't feel that way. I feel like I'm with Hunter. I'm attached to him. I'm attached to him as a leader. So I don't care about it. He's got way, 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 way more important things to worry about. And he said, hey, we're going to do this when the time comes. So I felt comfortable telling recruits that this is going to extend beyond what I originally signed. I'm 100% confident that it's going to happen, and that the timing of it is crucial and key. When you've got universities talking about doing furloughs and layoffs and stuff like that, the last thing we need to be thinking about is extensions and what that looks like. But I have not lost one wink of sleep over it. I know it's going to happen when the time comes. And we have had talks about what it's going to be, and I'm 100% happy with it. And not looking at any job that comes open, not trying to leverage any job to everybody knows I want to be here, and that's okay with me.
I hear you. My last question is this. Correct me if I'm wrong, but is there a a listing for head athletic trainer for women's basketball open right now?
I don't know. I have not followed that. I know that Natalie had some offers prior to the COVID shutdown, but I don't know that if it's officially open. That I do not know.
Okay, appreciate you coming on, Mike, and really enjoy hearing from you. Thanks.
Yep, you got it.
I'm going to open everybody back up here.
Unmuted.
Let's know. Questions for...
Hey, Kyle, this is Brett. Let me jump.
I got one, if that's all right.
Go ahead, Brett.
Yeah, Mike, I want to follow up on Slocum. It was an interesting story you mentioned with her and your relationship. Was there a little bit of you that was concerned about being all in right away because she might break your heart again, or did you feel like maybe she transferred for the express purpose of being able to play for you?
When you've had your heart broken as many times in my life as I have, Brett, you don't worry about that anymore. You get over it. So, I jumped right back in. I mean, again, I wouldn't tell you that I ever felt heartbroken. I felt like she'd always made probably the best decision for her at that point in time. I think when she left to go to Maryland, she had a sense that, hey, Arkansas might be coming over. He might not be the coach at Washington. That'd have been a fair assessment. She came the last time. I didn't have any evidence to prove to her that we were going to be good enough maybe to attract her at that time. It was a dream and it was a vision, but maybe I didn't sell it good enough. So I've stood behind her and I continue to stand behind her. When she tells me from talking to her that when she considered opening up, that there was a chance that we would have an open scholarship and we were graduating some people that had been integral and we had some need there. I think that makes it just that much more special. It's going to kill me knowing that I could have coached her for 4 years, but I only get 8 months. But we'll make the most of those 8 months. So I guess to answer your question, no, I never had any apprehension, didn't worry about it. And we talk honestly and openly, and I think that was why it worked out this time.
It's kind of weird. It seemed like when this grad transfer thing first came up, it might be for mid-major kids who would have 1 year to play for a big school, or somebody was playing for a poor Division I school that might get a chance to play for a winning school. But now we're seeing players go from good winning programs to other good winning programs. So I guess that's where either relationships make the difference, or they like your style of play, or both.
Yep, I think you're right. I think you absolutely nailed it right there. Relationships are key, and opportunity's key, and timing's key, and sometimes it works in your favor and sometimes it works against you. But this is one I think for personally I'm excited about, but I think as a professional in this and leader for this program, our fans are going to love this kid. What we're going to miss with Lex and her personality, this kid's going to be able to provide that.
Thanks, Mike. And I think you probably shaved your head just to get in the Michael Jordan theme of the Last Dance, but maybe you need to take a few pictures for us.
Fair enough. Yeah, part of it. You got it.
Nate?
Yeah, Mike, just about with how you feel that Slocum will mesh with Amber and Chelsea. How will that just not skip a beat from last year?
I called them when after Destiny said she wanted to talk. I called Amber first because I knew they had played in the same McDonald's All-American game. I wanted to make sure that they had a good relationship, which Amber immediately jumped on board and said, not only do we have a good one, we had a great one. I'm going to call her. I've still got her number, all that stuff. So, and then I called Chelsea next because I knew they had just recently played in the Pan Am game trials. And Chelsea echoed the same thing, said, Coach, she's a great teammate. She will help us in what we've lost with our two transfers. How can I help get, she was all in, all aboard. Great players want to play with other great players, and that was obvious with those two kids from the get-go. And their prior relationships were positive, and they both said she fits in our locker room, she fits on our campus. So the fact that these two here that have been here, that have been through the exact same thing pretty much that she has in a transfer, the fact that they checked off and signed off and on her as a person, as a player, that meant a lot to us as a staff.
Thanks.
You got it.
All right, last call for questions for Coach Neighbors.
Hey, Mike, this is Bob again. You have shaved head, but you still have your facial hair. Is that right?
I did shave it initially just to see what I would look like. And, Bob, it was not pretty. It was not a good look. My head needed some facial hair. So the beard grew back faster. The beard is there, and they're about the same length right now. So it's in that either awkward stage or I'm not sure how to describe it. But, boy, it was when I was freshly shaven on the beard and the chin and the face and the head, it was not a good look.
Okay, so how long ago did you shave your head?
2 weeks.
Okay. And how often do you have to shave it to keep it smooth?
I haven't done anything to it yet, but it's starting to get into that phase of we either got to go back to bald or do something with it because it's starting to look a little unruly.
And then being in the Pac-12, you've obviously been to Corvallis. Have been, but I would think even on a rainy weekend, Fayetteville would be Corvallis. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I agree, but Bob, it rained a lot that weekend. I mean, we're talking. It is. Y'all go back and look. It was like 12 inches in 2 days. When we went to eat at Mermaids, it would look like a waterfall coming down the hill there. So we couldn't go anywhere. We couldn't do tours. We did not definitely put our best foot forward. When you talk about in Corvallis, it's kind of a mist. It's not the big fat drops that you need windshield wipers and umbrellas for. So I think that probably had more to do with that we were coming off being picked dead last in the SEC, and Oregon State was coming off being picked first. But we'll get Destiny's take on it. We'll tell stories. I'm telling you, this is a kid that I trust. We'll have some open, frank conversations. I'm interested to learn some things as well, but she's a neat kid.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Got it.
All right, I'm pretty sure we have literally covered everything Coach Neighbors has done in the last 6 weeks.
No, not everything, but that's all I'm going to talk about. That's it.
Welcome to a Mike Neighbors press conference, Kyle. There must be.
Do we have any more questions before we let him go?
Thanks, guys.
All right, Thanks, Coach Ness.
Thanks,
Thank
Coach.
you.
Thanks.